The morning sun rose over the small farming colony of New Haven. Tae-sung Kim walked through his fields, checking the crops with careful eyes. At 73 years old, his back was still straight, his steps still firm. 15 years had passed since he put away his military uniform. 15 years of peace. General Kim, General Kim. A young boy ran toward him across the field. Tae-sung smiled. I told you, Han. I'm not a general anymore. Just a farmer. Han caught his breath. My father says you'll always be General Kim, the man who saved humanity. Tae-sung shook his head. Your father gives me too much credit. Now, would you like to help me check the eastern fields today? The boy nodded eagerly, falling into step beside the old man. Tae-sung pointed out different plants, teaching Han what healthy crops looked like. This was his life now, passing knowledge to the next generation, just as he had once trained young officers. Later that day, Tae-sung sat on his porch, drinking tea as the colony's 3 suns began to set. His small home sat on a hill overlooking the settlement. From here, he could see the whole colony, 200 families who had come to build a new life at the edge of human space. His communication device beeped. Tae-sung sighed and answered it. General, it's Major Yoon from Colonial Defense. I'm retired, Major. Yes, sir, but our sensors picked up something. Vantari ships, 3 of them, just entered our system. Tae-sung set down his cup. The Vantari, an alien empire that had fought humanity to a standstill 30 years ago. The peace treaty had held, but it was always fragile. Are they heading toward the colony? Yes, sir. They claim it's just a routine patrol. The treaty allows them to pass through this system, but they're coming very close to us. I see. Keep watching them, Major. Let me know if anything changes. After the call ended, Tae-sung walked to a locked chest in his bedroom. His fingers entered the code from memory. Inside lay his old uniform, his medals, and a small device. He took out the device and turned it on. A map of local space appeared, showing the positions of the Vantari ships. Tae-sung had never truly retired. For 15 years, he had built a network of informants throughout this sector. He watched the Vantari, collected information about their ships, their movements, their weapons. Deep down, he had always known the peace wouldn't last. The next morning, alarms blared throughout the colony. Tae-sung was already dressed when Han's father, Min, knocked on his door. General, Vantari ships have entered colony airspace. They claim they're looking for smugglers. That's not allowed by the treaty, Tae-sung said. Where did they land? Near the eastern fields. Tae-sung grabbed his old walking stick, hollow and containing a communication device more powerful than anything the colonists had. Stay here, Min. Make sure everyone stays in their homes. Where are you going? To talk to our visitors. Tae-sung walked slowly toward the eastern fields. He saw the Vantari ship, sleek and dangerous, its hull gleaming in the sunlight. 6 Vantari soldiers stood outside, tall figures with scaled skin and eyes that glowed yellow. Their leader, wearing the marks of a commander, stepped forward as Tae-sung approached. This is human territory, Tae-sung said calmly. You are violating the treaty. The Vantari commander looked down at him. And who are you, old man? My name is Tae-sung Kim. I suggest you leave immediately. The commander laughed, a harsh sound. A farmer giving orders to the Vantari Empire. Do you know who we are? I know exactly who you are, Tae-sung said. And I know the terms of the treaty better than you, it seems. The commander's eyes narrowed. We've heard reports of weapons being smuggled through this colony. We have the right to search. No, you don't. Now leave, or I will contact Human Defense Command. Tae-sung turned his walking stick, ready to activate the hidden communicator. The Vantari commander moved quickly, grabbing Tae-sung's arm. You will not give orders to me, human. Tae-sung looked at the alien's hand on his arm, then into the glowing yellow eyes. You are making a very serious mistake, he said quietly. The commander didn't know how right he was. The Vantari commander tightened his grip on Tai Sung's arm. His yellow eyes glowed brighter with anger. "You speak bravely for an old farmer," the commander said. Tai Sung did not struggle. "I am more than a farmer." The commander laughed and turned to his soldiers. "Did you hear that? He is more than a farmer." The other Vantari joined in the laughter, their scaled skin catching the sunlight. While they laughed, Tai Sung pressed a hidden button on his walking stick. A small light blinked 3 times. His message was sent. "Search this human," the commander ordered. 2 soldiers stepped forward and roughly patted down Tai Sung. They found nothing but took his walking stick. "Just a stick," one soldier said, tossing it aside. The commander pulled Tai Sung toward their ship. "You will show us where the weapons are hidden in this colony." "There are no weapons," Tai Sung said calmly. "And you are making a grave mistake. Leave now, and your government can call this a misunderstanding." The commander pushed Tai Sung to the ground. "We are the Vantari Empire. We do not fear humans or their weak treaties." From the ground, Tai Sung looked up at the 6 aliens. He had fought their kind before, long ago. He knew their strengths and weaknesses. Even at his age, he could probably take down 2 before they killed him. But that would not help the colony. "Take me to your leader," the commander mocked, using a phrase from human entertainment shows. His soldiers laughed again. Tai Sung stood up slowly, brushing dirt from his clothes. "I was your enemy once. I can be again." The commander's face changed. "What do you mean, old man?" Before Tai Sung could answer, a young colonist ran toward them. It was Han, the boy from yesterday. "General Kim," the boy called out. "My father sent me to find you." The commander's eyes widened. "General Kim." He looked at Tai Sung with new interest. "The human general, the one they call the Empire Breaker." Tai Sung sighed. "Han, go back to your father." But it was too late. The commander grabbed Tai Sung by the collar. "Are you really General Kim? The one who destroyed our 3rd fleet at the Battle of Oran?" Tai Sung met the alien's gaze steadily. "I am Tai Sung Kim. I was a general once. Now I am a farmer who wants peace." The commander pushed Tai Sung back and spoke quickly to his soldiers in their own language. They seemed surprised, nervous. One argued with the commander, but the commander silenced him with a hand gesture. "Send a message to command," the commander said to one of his soldiers. "Tell them we have found General Kim living as a colonist." The soldier used his communication device. After a moment, he nodded to the commander. "What are your orders?" the commander asked into the device. Tai Sung watched carefully. Something was wrong. The commander's face showed first shock, then a cruel smile. "It will be done," the commander said, ending the communication. He turned to Tai Sung. "It seems you are important after all, General Kim. Our high command knows your name well." "Then they know to fear it," Tai Sung said. "Call your ships back. This colony is protected by treaty." The commander drew his weapon, a sleek pistol that hummed with energy. "Our orders are clear. The human who broke our fleets must not live. Your death will show all humans that the Vantari Empire is not weak." Han screamed and ran back toward the colony. "Let the boy go," Tai Sung said. "This is between us." "He will tell the tale," the commander replied. "That is useful." Tai Sung stood straight, shoulders back, the stance of a soldier. "My death will not go unanswered. There are those who will come for you." The commander aimed his weapon at Tai Sung's chest. "Your human forces are weak and scattered. By the time they respond, we will be ready." Tai Sung smiled slightly. "You misunderstand. I'm not talking about the military. I'm talking about my student. When he learns what you've done, he will burn your empire to the ground." The commander fired. A blast of blue energy hit Tai Sung in the chest. The old general fell backward onto the soil of the colony he had called home. The commander stood over him. "Take his body to the town square." Let the humans see what happens when they defy the Vantari Empire. As darkness took him, Tai Sung's last thought was of his former student, Jae-ho Park, the boy he had trained, the man who had become a general himself. The message from his walking stick would reach Jae-ho soon, and then the Vantari would learn what true war meant. General Jae-ho Park stood at the window of his office on Earth Central Command. The view showed the glittering towers of New Seoul, humanity's capital since old Earth had been partially destroyed in the First Alien War. Jae-ho barely noticed the view today. His mind was far away. An alert beeped on his desk. Jae-ho turned and pressed a button. "General, we have an emergency signal. Priority code Alpha 1, said his aide, Captain Min-ho. Jae-ho frowned. Alpha 1 was the highest emergency code. Source: Colony New Haven. Sir, it's... Min-ho paused. Sir, it's from General Kim's personal transmitter. Jae-ho's heart jumped. Tae-sung Kim had been his teacher, his mentor, almost a father after Jae-ho's own parents died in the war. For 15 years, Tae-sung had lived quietly on New Haven. He had never used his emergency transmitter. Until now. "Show me," Jae-ho ordered. The screen on his desk lit up. The message was short. Just 3 words and a data package. Vantari. Treaty violation. The data package contained sensor readings of Vantari ships entering colony airspace and their communications. "Contact New Haven immediately," Jae-ho ordered. Min-ho tried, but shook his head. "No response, sir. All communications with the colony are down." Jae-ho felt cold fear grip his heart. "Prepare my ship. I'm going there myself." "Sir, protocol says." "Now, Captain." 4 hours later, Jae-ho's ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel near New Haven. 2 more human ships followed, responding to his urgent call. "Scan the colony," Jae-ho ordered. The ship's sensors swept over New Haven. The results came back quickly. "Colony intact, sir. No signs of orbital bombardment. But there's a Vantari ship on the surface." Jae-ho clenched his fists. "Take us down. Alert strike teams." As their ship descended, Jae-ho prepared himself for what they might find. Had the Vantari attacked? Why had Tae-sung sent that emergency signal? The ship landed at the colony's small spaceport. Jae-ho was the first one down the ramp, weapon ready, but there was no fighting, no sounds of battle. A group of colonists approached, led by a man Jae-ho recognized from Tae-sung's messages as Min, one of the colony leaders. "General Park," Min said, his voice shaking. We tried to contact Earth, but the Vantari blocked our signals." "Where is General Kim?" Jae-ho asked. Min's eyes filled with tears. "The town square. They put him there. As a warning." Jae-ho ran. His security team followed, but he barely noticed them. The colony was small, and he reached the town square quickly. In the center of the square was Tae-sung's body, laid out on a stone bench. His face was peaceful, but the burn mark on his chest showed how he died. Jae-ho fell to his knees beside his mentor. "Teacher," he whispered. A small boy stepped forward. "Are you the student?" he asked. "The one General Kim talked about." Jae-ho looked up. "Yes, I was his student." "The alien commander shot him," the boy said. His voice was steady, but his small hands shook. "General Kim told them you would burn their empire." The aliens laughed. Jae-ho placed a hand on Tae-sung's cold forehead. "What is your name, boy?" "Han, sir." "Han, tell me everything you saw and heard." The boy told him about the Vantari ships, how Tae-sung had gone to talk to them, how they had discovered who he was. "They got a message from their leaders," Han finished. "Then they killed him." Jae-ho stood up. His grief was turning to rage, but he kept his face calm. "Captain Min-ho," he said to his aide. "Sir, contact Earth. I want to speak to the Human Alliance Council immediately and find that Vantari ship." "The ship left an hour ago." "Sir," Min said. headed for Vantari space. Jai-Ho nodded. Good. I want them to tell their leaders what they did. I want them to spread the word. He looked down at Tai Sung's body one last time. I want the entire Vantari Empire to know that they just started a war they cannot win. Behind him, his security team stood straight and tall. They had all heard the stories of General Kim and General Park. They knew what was coming. The human empire was going to war. 3 days after finding Tai Sung's body, Jai-Ho stood in the main war room of Earth Central Command. The Human Alliance Council had given him full authority to respond to the Vantari attack. Now he needed a team. The door opened, and Colonel Yun-Su Lee entered. Yun-Su was short and thin, but her mind was the sharpest in the human military. She had won the strategy medal 3 times. General Park, she said with a salute. I came as soon as I heard about General Kim. Jai-Ho nodded. Thank you for coming, Colonel. We have work to do. More officers arrived. Major Hyun Woo-song, the best intelligence officer in the fleet. Admiral Do Hyun Kang, who commanded the largest battleships humans had ever built. Last to enter was a young woman in a lieutenant's uniform. Her face was hard, her eyes red from crying. Lieutenant Soo-Jin Choi, reporting as ordered, sir, she said, saluting Jai-Ho. Jai-Ho returned her salute. At ease, Lieutenant. Thank you for coming. He was my grandfather, Soo-Jin said quietly. I want to help make them pay. Jai-Ho looked at each person in the room. You're all here because you trained under General Kim. You're the best officers in the human forces. And you all loved him. Nobody spoke. It was true. Jai-Ho pressed a button, and a star map appeared above the table. The Vantari Empire controls 52 star systems. They have ships at every border. They think they're ready for our response. He smiled coldly. They're wrong. He pulled out an old data chip. Before General Kim retired to New Haven, he gave me this. He told me to open it only if something happened to him. Jai-Ho inserted the chip into the table's computer. Files appeared in the air around them. For 15 years, General Kim wasn't just farming, Jai-Ho explained. He was gathering intelligence. He had contacts throughout the border systems. He tracked Vantari ship movements, base locations, weak points in their defenses. The officers looked at the data in amazement. He knew, Admiral Kang said. He knew the peace wouldn't last. Yes, Jai-Ho agreed. And he prepared. This is everything we need to hit them where it hurts most. Colonel In-Su studied the data. Their defense grid has a weakness. Here, in the Orient sector. If we take out these 3 relay stations, their entire fleet communications will be disrupted. Major Hyunwoo pointed to another part of the map. And this is interesting. The Vantari royal family has a secret retreat here, at Proxima Beta. Lightly defended. Jai-Ho nodded. Good observations, but our first target will be here. He pointed to a small system near the border. This is where the commander who killed General Kim is from. His home world. Soo-Jin stepped closer. How do you know this, sir? Jai-Ho showed another file. General Kim recorded everything during the encounter. The commander's uniform markings show his home system. We start there, and we send a message. What kind of message? Admiral Kang asked. We won't harm civilians, Jai-Ho said firmly. But we will destroy their military base on that world. Completely. And we'll leave one ship intact to carry survivors home. His eyes were hard. So they can tell their leaders what happens when they kill an old man who only wanted peace. Soo-Jin looked at the map. My grandfather left one more thing, sir. She pulled out a small device. He sent this to me a month ago. Said if anything happened to him, I should bring it to you. Jai-Ho took the device. It contained plans for a new type of weapon. Something the Vantari had never seen before. This will change everything, Jai-Ho said quietly. The officers gathered around the table. Their faces showed determination and anger, but also something else. Hope. The Vantari think they know humans, Jai-Ho said. They think we're weak. They think killing one old man won't matter. He looked at each of his officers. "We're going to show them how wrong they are." Admiral Kang straightened. "When do we start, sir?" Jai-Ho's face was like stone. "We leave in 6 hours. Operation Burning Empire begins now." The human fleet moved silently through space. 5 large warships and 12 smaller attack ships. They traveled without lights, using the new stealth technology that Taesung had developed. The Vantari sensors could not see them coming. On the bridge of the largest ship, named Justice, Jai-Ho stood watching the stars. Lieutenant Soo-jin worked at a computer nearby, tracking Vantari communications. "We're approaching Cortus Prime, sir," Admiral Kang reported. "Homeworld of Commander Zextar, the Vantari who killed General Kim." Jai-Ho nodded. "Status of their defenses." Colonel Eun-soo checked her screens, just as General Kim's intelligence indicated. 3 defense stations in orbit, 20 patrol ships, 1 main military base on the surface. "And civilian areas?" Jai-Ho asked. "The military base is 30 miles from the nearest city," Eun-soo confirmed. "If we're precise, there will be no civilian casualties." Jai-Ho turned to his officers. "Remember our mission. We destroy their military capacity. We leave their civilians untouched. We send a message." The bridge crew nodded. They understood. "Begin Operation Silent Thunder," Jai-Ho ordered. The human ships spread out, each taking position around the planet. The Vantari still had no idea they were there. "On my mark," Jai-Ho said calmly. 3, 2, 1, mark. All 17 human ships fired at once. Their weapons were not the usual bright energy beams that could be seen across space. These were new weapons, silent and invisible, until they hit their targets. The 3 Vantari defense stations exploded at the same moment. On the planet below, the military base erupted in flames. 18 Vantari patrol ships were destroyed before they could respond. 2 patrol ships remain, Admiral Kang reported. "As planned." Jai-Ho nodded. "Disable their engines but leave their communication systems intact." Precise shots hit the 2 remaining Vantari ships, stopping their engines but leaving the rest of the ships functional. "Open a channel to the surviving ships," Jai-Ho ordered. Soo-jin pressed buttons on her console. "Channel open, sir." Jai-Ho stood straight, his voice cold. "Vantari ships, this is General Jai-Ho Park of the Human Alliance. You are being allowed to live so you can deliver a message to your leaders." He paused, making sure his words would be remembered. "You killed an old man. His name was General Taesung Kim. He was my teacher. He was Lieutenant Choi's grandfather. He was Admiral Kang's mentor. He taught Colonel Lee's strategy. He showed Major Song how to gather intelligence." Jai-Ho's voice grew harder. "Every officer on every ship around your planet was trained by General Kim, and we have all vowed to avenge him." The Vantari didn't respond. "This is only the beginning," Jai-Ho continued. "We will not harm your civilians. We are not monsters, but we will destroy your military. We will burn your empire to the ground. 1 base at a time, 1 fleet at a time." Still no response from the Vantari. "You have 1 hour to rescue survivors from your base," Jai-Ho said. "Then you will leave this system and tell your emperor what happened here. Tell him who did this. Tell him why." Jai-Ho cut the communication. The bridge was silent. "Do you think they'll understand the message, sir?" Soo-jin asked. "They will," Jai-Ho said, "but it won't stop them from fighting back. This war has just begun." On the main screen, they watched as Vantari rescue ships flew from the planet to the damaged patrol ships. True to his word, Jai-Ho gave them 1 hour to rescue survivors from the burning base. Then the human fleet vanished back into stealth mode, heading for their next target. In his private quarters, Jai-Ho looked at an old picture of himself with Taesung. It was taken 20 years ago, when Jai-Ho was a young officer and Taesung was his commanding general. "The first step is done, teacher," Jai-Ho whispered to the picture. "They know we're coming now. They know why." He put the picture away and returned to the bridge. The next target was already on the screens, a major Vantari shipyard that built their warships. Operation Burning Empire was just beginning. 1 month after the first attack, the Vantari Empire was in chaos. Jeho's fleet had hit 12 military targets. Each time, they appeared with no warning, destroyed only military buildings and ships, and then vanished again. The Vantari Emperor, a tall alien with golden scales, slammed his fist on the war table. Maps and reports fell to the floor. How are they doing this? He shouted at his generals. Why can't we see them coming? No one had an answer. The Vantari ships patrolled their borders day and night, but they could not find the human fleet. Meanwhile, on the human ship Justice, Jaiho and his team studied a new set of plans. Colonel Yunsu pointed to a supply route on the map. The Vantari send their ships here to refuel, she explained. If we cut this supply line, their entire Western fleet will be stranded. Jaiho nodded. Good. That's our next target. Admiral Kang looked worried. Sir, the Vantari have doubled their patrols in that area. It will be more dangerous. We won't attack the patrols, Jaiho said. That's what they expect. Instead, we'll hit the fuel depot itself. Without fuel, their ships are useless. This was Taesung's teaching. Don't fight where the enemy is strongest. Attack where they are weak. Lieutenant Sujin entered the war room. Sir, I finished studying my grandfather's final project. She placed a small device on the table. This is amazing. It's a code breaker for Vantari communications. It can decode all their message encryption. Everyone stared at the small device. Can it work without them knowing? Major Hyunwoo asked. Sujin nodded. Yes, they'll never know we're listening. Jaiho smiled for the first time in weeks. Your grandfather was always 3 steps ahead of everyone. With this, we can hear every order their emperor gives. 2 days later, the human fleet approached the Vantari fuel depot. As predicted, most Vantari ships were patrolling nearby space. The depot itself had only light defenses. They're sending a message, Sujin reported, using the new code breaker. The message says, human ships spotted in Sector 7. That's nowhere near here. Someone is giving false reports. Jaiho wasn't surprised. The Vantari are turning against each other. Fear does that. The attack on the fuel depot was quick and clean. The humans destroyed the fuel storage tanks and processing plants. Without firing a single shot at any Vantari ships, they had just crippled the entire Western fleet. Back on the Vantari homeworld, the Emperor received the news. Our Western fleet is stranded without fuel, a general reported. It will take months to rebuild the depot. This is impossible, the Emperor roared. How did they know about the depot? How did they get past our patrols? A communication officer entered with more bad news. Your Highness, we've lost contact with the mining colony on Deris IV. The humans hit it 20 minutes ago. The Emperor froze. Deris IV, that's where we build our new destroyer ships. Yes, Your Highness. The shipyard is completely destroyed. The Emperor looked at his war map. Red marks showed every place the humans had attacked in the past month. It made no sense. How could they hit so many targets so quickly? It's like they can read our thoughts, the Emperor whispered. On the Justice, Jaiho received reports of their success at Deris IV. He marked it on his own map. The plan was working perfectly. Next target, Admiral Kang asked. Jaiho showed him the map. Here, their command center at Proxima Beta. We hit it tomorrow. Colonel Im-Su studied the plan. Sir, this is brilliant. We're not just attacking random targets. Each strike weakens them in a specific way, like a chess game. Jaiho looked at the colonel. That's exactly what General Kim taught me. War isn't about destroying everything. It's about removing the right pieces from the board until your opponent has no moves left. Lieutenant Sujin entered with new intelligence from the codebreaker. Sir, I think you should hear this. The Vantari Emperor has ordered something called the Final Solution. They're gathering their remaining ships for a massive attack. Jaiho nodded calmly. Good. Let them come. The chessboard is already set in our favor. The Vantari Emperor's plan was desperate. He gathered 200 warships from across his empire. It was the largest fleet the Vantari had ever assembled. They would attack the human colony world of Terra Nova, home to 5 million people. If we destroy their colony, the Emperor told his war council, the humans will have to respond with their full force. Then we'll find their fleet and crush it. What the Emperor didn't know was that Lieutenant Sujin was listening to every word through the codebreaker. They're planning to attack Terra Nova, she told Jaiho. Their ships are already moving. Jaiho remained calm. How many civilian ships do we have nearby? Admiral Kang checked the data. 15 transport ships within 6 hours of Terra Nova. Order them to begin evacuation immediately, Jaiho said, and send this message to all human colonies. Code Red Shield. Code Red Shield was the emergency evacuation plan Taesung had created years ago. Every human colony had underground bunkers ready for such an attack. 2 days later, the Vantari fleet approached Terra Nova. On their command ship, the Vantari admiral was confident. The humans have no defense fleet here, he told his officers. This will be an easy victory. The Vantari ships surrounded the planet, weapons ready. Fire the planet killer missiles, the admiral ordered. 20 large missiles launched toward Terra Nova. Each one could destroy an entire city. The Vantari officers watched, waiting for the explosions. But something strange happened. Small objects rose from the planet's surface. They weren't ships. They were defense drones, another of Taesung's secret projects. The drones intercepted the missiles, detonating them high in the atmosphere. Not a single missile reached the planet's surface. Impossible, the admiral shouted. Fire again. Before they could launch more missiles, space itself seemed to ripple around them. The human fleet appeared, surrounding the Vantari ships. They had been there all along, hidden by their stealth technology. Jaiho's voice came through on all Vantari communication channels. Vantari fleet, this is General Park. You just tried to kill 5 million innocent people. You have violated every rule of war. The Vantari admiral tried to order his ships to fire, but it was too late. The human ships attacked with precise aim. They targeted weapon systems and engines, disabling the Vantari ships without destroying them completely. In less than 20 minutes, the entire Vantari fleet was floating helpless in space. Jaiho opened a direct channel to the Vantari admiral's ship. You think we're weak because we value life. You're wrong. Our strength comes from what we protect, not what we destroy. The admiral had no response. Your ships are disabled, not destroyed, Jaiho continued. Your crews will live. We will provide emergency life support until your rescue ships arrive. Across the Vantari Empire, news of the defeat spread quickly. The Emperor had sent his largest fleet, and it had failed completely. On 5 different Vantari colony worlds, the people began to rebel against the Emperor's rule. One of these worlds was Nexus VI, home to a species the Vantari had conquered 50 years ago. The local governor called Earth for help. We never wanted to be part of their empire, the governor told Jaiho. Help us, and we'll be your allies. Jaiho discussed this with his officers. General Kim always said our goal should never be to replace one empire with another, he told them. We help these worlds become free, not to control them ourselves. Colonel In-Su agreed. We can provide supplies and intelligence, but let them fight their own battles for freedom. The human ships began delivering supplies to the rebelling worlds. Medical equipment, food, and communication devices. But no weapons. Jaiho was firm about this. They need to win their freedom their own way, he explained. That's the only way it will last. Lieutenant Sujin monitored Vantari communications. The Emperor is panicking, she reported. He's ordering his remaining ships to abandon the outer worlds and protect the core systems. Jai-Ho nodded. The empire is collapsing from within, just as General Kim predicted it would. The Vantari Empire had ruled the stars for 300 years. Now it was burning, not from human weapons, but from the fire of freedom spreading through its own worlds. As the Vantari Empire crumbled, the emperor grew desperate. In his palace on the home world, he called his most trusted commander. "There is only one way to stop General Park," the emperor said. "We must kill him." The commander bowed. "Yes, Your Highness. I will take our best warriors and find his ship." "No," the emperor said. "That won't work. We need someone special for this mission." He turned to a figure standing in the shadows. "My son will lead it." The crown prince stepped forward. Tall and strong, with scales that shone like gold, he was the empire's greatest warrior. He had never failed a mission. "I will bring you General Park's head, Father," the prince said. 3 days later, a small Vantari ship approached the human fleet. It sent a message asking for peace talks. Jai-Ho was suspicious. "It could be a trap," Admiral Kang warned. "Of course it's a trap," Jai-Ho agreed. "But we should hear what they have to say." Jai-Ho ordered the Vantari ship to dock with the Justice. Security teams searched the visitors carefully, but they found no weapons. The Vantari diplomats seemed sincere in wanting peace. What no one noticed was a small device hidden inside one diplomat's body. It wasn't a weapon, but a scanner that mapped the inside of the human ship. That night, while the humans slept, a small pod quietly attached to the outside of the Justice. The Crown Prince and 5 elite warriors cut through the hull and entered the ship. Their mission was simple: find Jai-Ho and kill him. But Lieutenant Su-Jin couldn't sleep. She was in the communications room, still monitoring Vantari messages. She heard a strange sound in the hallway and went to check. There she saw the intruders. Su-Jin hit the alarm button before diving behind a door. Sirens blared throughout the ship. The Crown Prince cursed. "Find Park, now." The warriors split up, running through the ship. Security teams responded quickly, but the Vantari were fast and deadly. 2 human guards fell before they could fire a shot. Jai-Ho was awake instantly when the alarm sounded. He grabbed his weapon and headed for the bridge. In the corridor, he met the Crown Prince. "General Park," the prince said with a cold smile. "My father sends his regards." Jai-Ho aimed his weapon. "Your father is a fool. This changes nothing." The prince attacked with incredible speed. Jai-Ho fired, but the prince dodged and knocked the weapon from his hand. They fought hand to hand in the narrow corridor. Meanwhile, Su-Jin had reached Colonel Yun-Su and Major Kunwu. Together, they trapped the other Vantari warriors and captured them one by one. Admiral Kang found Jai-Ho fighting the prince. The admiral fired his weapon, hitting the prince in the leg. The prince fell, and Jai-Ho quickly pinned him to the floor. "Kill me and be done with it," the prince snarled. "No," Jai-Ho said, catching his breath. "That's not how we do things." The prince was taken to the ship's medical bay, then to a secure room. Jai-Ho visited him after his leg was treated. "You failed," Jai-Ho said simply. "My father will send others," the prince warned. "He will never stop until you're dead." Jai-Ho sat down across from the prince. "Before you try to kill me again, there's something you should see." He showed the prince a recording from the Vantari Imperial Palace. It was the emperor talking to his generals. "The crown prince is expendable," the emperor said in the recording. "If he kills Park, good. If he dies, it's no great loss. I have other sons." The prince's face showed shock, then pain. "Where did you get this?" "Your father's palace has poor security," Jai-Ho said. "But that's not all." He showed another recording. This one showed the emperor speaking 3 months earlier. "Find this General Kim and kill him," the emperor ordered. "Make it look like a border incident. The humans are weak. They won't fight back." The prince looked away. "I don't believe this." "Your father started this war," Jai-Ho said. He ordered the death of an old man who just wanted peace, and now he's willing to sacrifice his own son. The prince said nothing for a long time. Finally, he looked at Jai-Ho. "What will you do with me?" "That depends on you," Jai-Ho replied. "I don't want to destroy your people. I want justice for General Kim. I want peace that will last." The prince looked into Jai-Ho's eyes. "What are you asking?" "Help me end this war," Jai-Ho said, "before your empire burns completely to the ground." 1 week after capturing the crown prince, Jai-Ho's fleet approached the Vantari homeworld. This time, they didn't use stealth. 17 human warships appeared in the sky above the imperial palace, a clear message to everyone below. Inside the palace, the emperor raged at his generals. "Where is my son? Why haven't the assassins reported back?" A communication officer entered, his face pale. "Your Highness, the human fleet is here." They're broadcasting a message. Everyone on the planet can see it. On screens across the Vantari homeworld, Jai-Ho's face appeared. Beside him stood the crown prince. "People of the Vantari Empire," Jai-Ho said, "I am General Jai-Ho Park of the Human Alliance. Your leaders have lied to you. This war didn't start because humans attacked your ships. It started because your emperor ordered the murder of one old man." The crown prince stepped forward. "What General Park says is true. I have seen the evidence myself. My father, the emperor, ordered the death of General Kim to start a war he thought would be easy to win." The emperor screamed at the screen. "Traitor, he's being forced to say these things." But the prince continued, "I am not a prisoner. I could have died trying to kill General Park, but he showed mercy. He showed me truth. Our empire is dying because my father built it on fear, not strength." Jai-Ho spoke again. "We don't want to destroy your worlds or your people. We want justice for General Kim. We want a peace that will last." The broadcast ended, but its effect was immediate. In the streets of the capital city, people gathered, asking questions, demanding answers. Inside the palace, guards looked at each other with uncertainty. The emperor called his loyal guards. "Prepare my escape ship. We're leaving." But when he reached the palace landing pad, he found the crown prince waiting. Behind him stood many palace guards. "Father," the prince said, "it's over." 3 days later, Jai-Ho sat in a large meeting room in the imperial palace. Across from him sat the crown prince and representatives from all Vantari worlds and the rebelling colonies. "The terms of surrender are fair," the prince said. "The empire as it was will end. Each world will govern itself. Those responsible for war crimes will face justice." "And what about you?" Jai-Ho asked. "What will you do now?" The prince looked out the window at the city below. "I will help build something better than an empire, something that can last." Lieutenant Su-Jin entered the room. "Sir, the preparations are complete. We can leave whenever you're ready." Jai-Ho nodded. "Thank you, Lieutenant." 1 month later, Jai-Ho stood on a grassy hill on the colony of New Haven. The 3 suns were setting, painting the sky in beautiful colors. Beside him stood Lieutenant Su-Jin, Admiral Kang, Colonel Yun-Su, and Major Hyun-Woo. In front of them was a simple stone marker. On it were carved the words, "General Tae-sung Kim, teacher, leader, friend." He showed us the true meaning of strength. Jai-Ho placed his hand on the stone. "It's done, teacher. The war is over. Justice has been served. Do you think he would be proud?" Su-Jin asked quietly. Jai-Ho smiled. "Not of the destruction we caused, but of how we ended it. Yes, I think he would be." Admiral Kang looked up at the sky. "The Vantari Crown World has signed the new peace treaty. So have 12 former colony worlds. They're calling it the Kim Accord." "A fitting name," Colonel Yun-Su said. "What happens now, sir?" Major Hyun-Woo asked. Jai-Ho looked around at the rebuilt colony. Children played in the distance. Farmers worked in the fields. Life continued. "Now we do what General Kim wanted all along," Jiho said. "We build something that will last. Not an empire, but a community of worlds where no one rules through fear." As the last sun set, Jiho thought about the long journey that had brought him here. It had started with the death of one old man. An old man who had taught him that true strength came not from weapons or fear, but from justice and wisdom. The Vantari Empire had burned to the ground. From its ashes, something new was growing. Something better. Tae Sung Kim would have liked that.